The prosecution opened the investigations against the Prime Minister were against the law, not just any law, the basic law that requires the permission from the Government Attorney General to open an investigation, a permit that has never been given. Why did they do that? It's such a witch hunt. They didn't investigate a crime. They didn't look for a crime. They hunted for a man. They hunted me.
Let's go to Tel Aviv and speak to Allison Kaplan Sommer, a political reporter at Haaretz. Allison, welcome to the programme. Can you just take us back to the time when these allegations of Netanyahu trying to get favourable coverage from the media date back to? Were there rumours then in the media, in your circles, of the Prime Minister trying this sort of thing?
Yes, well, first there were rumors and then there were media reports. Actually, the newspaper where I work, Haaretz, had an extensive story about pressure within this website, Walla, to give favorable coverage to Netanyahu. Now, the crime or alleged crime is not simply asking for favorable coverage, but that there was a quid pro quo in that the prime minister at the time was the acting communications minister, and he was working on deals that signing agreements that would benefit this company. So there was in the allegations, they're saying that that Netanyahu would agree in order to make deals that were financially favorable to this company, and in exchange, this company had daily influence on the website as to how the prime minister was being covered.
I mean, obviously, it's going to be for the court to decide, Alison, but in terms of you being a political reporter for what, probably the main newspaper in Israel, does Benjamin Netanyahu come across that way, the way Ilhan Yeshua has described him, almost being obsessed with his image?
Absolutely. And again, we're talking about a quid pro quo. We're talking about an allegation of an abuse of power, of using his power as communications minister to influence his media coverage. And remember, this case is only one of three cases that Netanyahu is on trial for. We've got three corruption cases. We've got one involving gifts. We've got one involving another media manipulation scandal. And so this is the case that the prosecution chose to open with. And this is the strongest witness, a witness who in real time believed that perhaps he was doing something illegal. Therefore, he had very good records of what he was being asked to do at the time. So it's a big it's a big crisis of democracy. At the very same time, across town in the president's mansion, the government coalition is trying to be assembled by the country's president, and one side is pushing very hard for Netanyahu himself to once again be allowed to put together a government coalition and continue to run the country.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you exactly about that. The indications are that Netanyahu is having some problems creating that coalition. How much of his political future depends on what's happening in the courtroom? How much are other parties possibly thinking twice about going into coalition with him because of this case?
Well, you have to remember that Netanyahu has been under investigation now for many years, and the trial itself is not new. It entered its evidentiary stage now, but Netanyahu being indicted, being put on trial, this is something that the Israeli political system has already been coping with for years. So it's been slowly, I think, eating at his political strength in the country. But, he's been fighting back at every turn. He's had this great success with vaccinating the country against COVID, against the coronavirus. Probably for almost any other leader, this vaccine success would have meant they were swept into office. But Netanyahu is now fighting for his political life, and we've got deeply split 13 parties that were elected to the Knesset, and it is not clear at the moment whether it will be possible for either Netanyahu to pull together a coalition or for the parties that oppose Netanyahu to assemble a coalition, because these parties range from the far right to the far left, and it's not at all clear that they will be able to get a 61-seat majority in the Knesset and therefore create a coalition with an alternative prime minister to Netanyahu. So really, it's a very murky picture right now as to what's going to happen.
Allison, thanks so much indeed. Allison Kaplan Sommer, who writes for Haaretz newspaper in Israel.